Hare Krishna, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, let us quickly summarize what we did last class. If you remember, we finished the chapter 11 of the 7th canto, and specifically in the last class, we heard about these duties of mixed classes, antages. So if somebody from a higher caste marries somebody from a lower caste, pratiloma, aniloma marriages, and these people born from such marriages, what their duties are. So there are different, considerations, whether it's aniloma, pratiloma, whether they are chandalas. See here, chandalas, it's mentioned, this ante vasai or chandalas. They're not thieves, they're not sinful in conduct, but they have other low-class customs and habits, like eating dogs and similar things. And it's stressed that the best is to act according to your nature. And then gradually, if you act like that, you will come to the platform of nishkama, acting without material desires. And then you can make further progress. And it was also mentioned this overindulgence for lower classes that are already sinful. If they overindulge in sense gratification, there is a chance that by too much indulgence, they will lose these desires, and then they will get opportunity to get purified. But the point is to somehow lose the taste for sense gratification. So either you do it in a regulated way, dharmically, which is prescribed for all cultured higher classes, or for the lower classes, if they overindulge for some time, there is an opportunity also to, to lose taste, that you get disgusted with so much enjoyment. And the main shloka in that chapter was this one, yasya ya lakshanam proktam, that the varnas are based on qualities. They're not based on birth. So if you show symptoms of certain varna, then you should be accepted that you're from that varna. Not if you're born in certain varna. If you're born brahmana, that doesn't mean that you're brahmana. You have to show the qualities of a brahmana. So even if you're born as a shudra, if you show qualities of brahmana, you should be accepted as a brahmana. So this is the guiding principle. And of course, if somebody is born as a brahmana and shows symptoms of shudra or lower, he should be accepted as such. So symptoms, the guna and karma, is what determines one's position in the society, not janma, not birth, but guna and karma. So this was the end of the chapter, and we just started now 12th chapter, where 4 ashramas are discussed, and we just started with the brahmachari. I'll read again. The first sloka was Narada Muni saying, a student should practice completely controlling his senses, means brahmachari student. He should be submissive, should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukul only for the benefit of the Guru. So that means that brahmachari was a very, very young student, not like in ISKCON we have 20, 30 years old men or even older living in brahmachari ashram. That's not really Vedic brahmachari. Vedic brahmachari means from age of 5, he's sent to Gurukul, and then up to the age of, 15 or 18 or 20, he's schooled, and then he goes like Krishna and Balaram. They went very short, actually, Krishna and Balaram, in the Sandipani Muni's ashram. I don't know how long they spent, but it was not very long at all. Nevertheless, they completed their education very fast because they were extraordinarily intelligent, so they didn't need very long time. But still, to set the example, they went to the Gurukula and they served the Guru for some time. All right, we'll go to the next shloka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Naro Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat. Or shloka 2. Sayam Pratharupasita Gurvyagnyarka Surotaman Sandhya Ube Chayata Vag Japam Brahma Samahitaha. At both junctions of the day and night, Sandhyas, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in thoughts of the spiritual master, fire, the sun god, and Lord Vishnu. And by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them. So Vishnu Thakur comments here that Brahma means Gayatri. So this is what we also do. I mean, in the morning, around the sunrise, at the noon, and also in the evening at the sunset, we're supposed to chant our Gayatri mantras, which are few, not only one. Brahma Gayatri is one. This is Vedic Gayatri, but then we have Pancharatric mantras, Guru Gayatri, Gaura Gayatri, Krishna Gopal Gayatri, and Kama Gayatri we have. So Sandhya is considered auspicious time for spiritual activities, especially early morning. Brahma Muhurta, this is before Sandhya. Sandhya is 48 minutes before the sunrise and 48 minutes after the sunrise, which is 1.5 hours approximately. And also before and after the sunset, 1.5 hours. These are two Sandhyas. And then the noon time is somewhere in between. So all those who are Brahmanically initiated, they chant their mantras during that time, and the purpose is to remember and to worship the deity of that mantra. So, who is the deity of the first mantra, Brahma Gayatri? Well, superficially, you can say sun, because we say, Savitri, you worship the sun god, but this is one interpretation of that Brahma Gayatri. But there is another interpretation that, Krishna is the son of all sons. So we can also meditate on the Supreme Lord as the, the life giver and the soul of the sun, the one who is Surya Narayan, who is residing within the sun planet, who is the Paramatma of the sun god. So sun god is one, Lord Vishnu. Of course, for us, that's Krishna. We don't meditate separately on Lord Vishnu. Spiritual master, we have, Guru Gayatri. And the fire specifically, we do not, concentrate on fire. And we have, then two Krishna mantras. We have Gopal Gayatri and Kama Gayatri. Gopal Gayatri is actually the main mantra of the Vaishnavas. Gopal Tapani Upanishad is the best of all Upanishads. It's a Vaishnava Upanishad, and this is the Upanishad that describes Gopal Gayatri mantra that we have received and that we are chanting. Plain Krishnaya, Govindaya, and so on. And then we have Kama Gayatri also, which is specifically for Gaudiya Vaishnavas who aspire for Madhurya Rasa and who meditate on Krishna as the transcendental Kamadev. All right, I'll read one more. Chandanyam yadita gurur autaschet suyatrita upakrame avasanecha charanau shirasanamet. Being called by the spiritual master, the student should study the Vedic mantras regularly. Every day before beginning his studies and at the end of his studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. So this is traditional Vedic Gurukul, you have many, young children, students living there. And generally the guru is a grihastha. He lives with his wife and family there, and he has many students living nearby in the ashram. So when they get up, these young brahmachari students, they go on, they pay obeisances to the spiritual master. And then during the day, they do duties that spiritual master orders them. So in this way, they are trained. And main thing is studying the mantras and other things. And also doing some seva for spiritual master. One more, since there is no purport. Mekalajina vasamsi jitha danda kamadulun bibhyad upavitam cha darba panir etoditam. Carrying pure kusha grass in his hand, the brahmachari should dress regularly with a belt of straw and with deer-skin garments. He should wear matted hair, carry a rod and water pot, and be decorated with the sacred thread as recommended in the Shastras. Again, these are the instructions given, for previous yugas. Brahmachari dressing with a belt of straw and deerskin. This is definitely not for this yuga deerskin garment. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw, who was it, Brahmananda Bharati, wearing deerskin garment, he pretended not to see him. So Vaishnavas are not supposed to wear deerskin. Kusha grass, belt of straw for kusha. You can try. Matted hair, we also don't use. We want cleave-shaved head. A rod and water pot. So even brahmachari can carry a danda. And water pot is, for collecting water and sacred thread. Syam pratarcharet bhaiksham guraveta nivedayet bunjita yad yanugyato nochet upapaset kvachit. The brahmachari should go out morning and evening to collect alms, and he should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. He should eat only if ordered to take food by the spiritual master. Otherwise, if the spiritual master does not give this order, he may sometimes have to fast. So, as a remnant of this custom of collecting alms, after initiation, we see devotees, they go around, at least men, I didn't see any ladies begging for, some donations, and then they give it to spiritual master. This comes from this tradition, when brahmachari would go and collect alms. Nowadays, I don't think this is practical collecting alms unless you go for book distribution. Then, yeah, you're collecting alms. Eat only if ordered to take food. Again, this is to instill certain discipline. That you're completely dependent on spiritual master, and then that he takes care of you. But what if he forgets? Then you fast. Sounds very, very strict, but it's meant, to teach young students to be very disciplined and surrendered. Of course, spiritual master should be aware that if he doesn't order, students will remain hungry, and this is not very good. But of course, this is again not practice nowadays. We have spiritual masters or gurus with tens of thousands of disciples. So if they would have to order all of them to eat 3 times a day or 2 times a day, that would be crazy. Sushilo mithabuk daksha shadadhano jitendriya yavad artham vyavaharet stri shustri nirjite shucha. A brahmachari should be quite well behaved and gentle and should not eat or collect more than necessary. He must always be active and expert, fully believing in the instructions of the spiritual master and the Shastra, fully controlling his senses. He should associate only as much as necessary with women or those controlled by women. So, strishu and stri nirjiteshu. Prabhupada says men who are hand-packed, controlled by women. So brahmachari students should minimize that association as much as possible. Purport. A brahmachari should be very careful not to mix with women or with men addicted to women. Although when he goes out to beg alms, it is necessary to talk with women and with men very much attached to women, this association should be very short. And he should talk with them only about begging alms and not more. So you cannot indulge in any sort of conversation. You just ask, please give me some alms, and that's it. A brahmachari should be very careful in associating with men who are attached to women. Yeah, this association is actually sometimes considered more dangerous than associating with women directly, because those who are attached to women means enjoyment with women. They can transfer this enjoyment bhava, this lusty disposition, and then contaminate a brahmachari or whoever associates with them. Vishnu Chakri he may have to go to householders to beg or go to Guru's house, assuming the Guru is married, to do service. That much he can interact with women. So it's not completely, blind. We don't have to do anything with women. No, brahmachari as much as necessary can do what is with women. In ISKCON temples, we generally, the place where men and women mix, at least in the West, were altars. Because pujari, you would have, men and women, brahmacharis and ladies. So this was the place where some association was possible, which might not be the best. It's why in India you don't have well, we have ladies actually doing all sort of things on the altar, making decorations, this and that, but not doing directly puja in public. Okay, so somebody else now can continue. Gunaraj Prabhu, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Varjayet pramada gatam agrhasto brahat vrataha indriyani pramatini haranti apiyater manaha. Translation: a brahmachari, or one who has not accepted the grahastha ashrama family life, must rigidly avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life. Purport: Brahmacharya essentially means the vow not to marry but to observe strict celibacy. Brahatvrata: a brahmachari or sannyasi should avoid talking with women or reading literature concerning talks between man and woman. The injunction restricting association with women is the basic principle of spiritual life. Associating or talking with women is never advised in any of the Vedic literatures. The entire Vedic system teaches one to avoid sex life so that one may gradually progress from brahmacharya to grahastha, from grahastha to vanaprastha, and from vanaprastha to sannyasa, and thus give up material enjoyment, which is the original cause of the bondage to this material world. The word Brahatvrata refers to one who has decided not to marry, or in other words, not to indulge in sex life throughout his entire life. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura comments, other than householders, all should avoid talk with women. Brahatvrata refers to a brahmachari who vows to remain that way for life. So here basically a brahmachari is restricted in mingling with or talking with opposite sex, because it will agitate his mind, or and he can he can fall down from his brahmacharya position. And that's why even Mahaprabhu also has shown as an example that he never allowed any woman to come near to him or touch his feet. So he was showing the example that how a sannyasi or brahmachari should lead his life, so that he is away from the mixing with women or associating with women. So that is the importance of this.
Thank you. Yeah, Mahaprabhu was the ideal sannyasi, and he gave really the ideal example. And we have seen even in the history of ISKCON, so many sannyasis fell down because of this unrestricted association and not being very strict with opposite sex. And yeah, he's not supposed to talk, and reading literature. In Prabhupada's time, there was just reading literature, but nowadays there is such content that is available in the form of so-called porn industry, which is one of the biggest industries of billions of dollars, and young people are there exposed from very early age, which is terrible thing. Internet, everybody has internet now, just one click away on your mobile phone. You can watch, not only read, all sort of horrible things. So the Kali Yuga is dangerous, especially this present modern age is very dangerous.
Prabhu,
Yes, Mataji.
how to understand that up till now ISKCON we have the sannyasi, they also have women disciple, and they always associate with women.
Well, I would not say always, I would not generalize. I mean, Srila Prabhupada, he was sannyasi and he accepted both men and women. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was Paramahamsa, and he could not be affected by anything. But there was a need, to accept both men and women. Otherwise, how would you spread the movement if you accept only men for disciples? And somehow it was that in ISKCON mostly sannyasis were gurus, and so they were also accepting men and women. But then some of them were not very strict in their sannyas vows. They had some unrestricted association, which caused their fall down. But yeah, sannyasis also have to be very, very, very careful, and it's all individual. You cannot now generalize that all sannyasis in ISKCON were like this. No, some sannyasis stayed. Some fell as young, many, they were just given sannyas, and after 1, 2, 3 years, even during Prabhupada's times, they fell off and they left the sannyas because it's not so easy. And Prabhupada said that actually they were not qualified, but because it's emergency situation and he's trying to spread Krishna consciousness, that's why he was giving sannyas very easily. But in the recent couple of maybe decades, in ISKCON, when it became apparent, that there are many fall downs, the rules became much more strict and tight. That's why the sannyas ministry was formed. And nowadays, to become a sannyasi in ISKCON is much, much more difficult than it was in 70s or in 80s. Now, it's not that you go to Guru who is sannyasi and he just gives you sannyas. No. First, you need to apply through certain, bodies. First to the, regional body, your local temple first, you need to get a permission. And then to go to the regional body, and then regional sannyas ministry, you need approval, you need many, many recommendations, so many things. Then you are recommended to the International Sannyas Committee. Then they put you, if everything is okay, they put you on minimum 5 years waiting list. And then if during these 5 years, any complaint against you comes, you will not get it so easily. So the process became much, much more strict in order to prevent these fall downs. So somebody is saying now it's very actually difficult to get sannyas in ISKCON. There is a lot of bureaucracy, which from one side is good because it's restricting that everybody and anybody becomes sannyasi. Yeah, what else you ask? Is that?
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Thank you very much.
It is what I can think of. And it's not necessary that, Guru is sannyasi. Guru can be anybody. It has nothing to do with ashram. But somehow it was a, tradition or custom because sannyasis, they were treated as VIP. They are still treated as VIPs in ISKCON. Then immediately people want also to take initiation from them. But it's actually now divided into Guru committee is one. So there are many sannyasis who are not gurus yet. So they need to go through Guru committee and to be approved by that Guru committee to become a guru in ISKCON. So it's all very much, bureaucratic procedures, committees and approvals and recommendations and strict rules and regulations to, prevent social chaos.
But then some household, some householder senior devotees, they also become guru. So they had to pass the same examinations.
They have to go to this Guru committee, not Sannyas committee, but Guru committee. And there are some requirements there. Yes, some requirements are there. I don't know exactly what the requirements, but yeah, they have to fulfill certain conditions. in order to be approved, and then the GBC approves. So approval must be there and some requirements must be there. I heard there is even some guru course. You have to go for the guru course. Like you can learn how to be a guru by attending a course.
Yeah.
Actually, the guru, you cannot appoint the gurus in true sense of the word. You cannot appoint the guru. Guru is, self-manifest. It's somebody, say Krishna Tattva, one who knows Krishna. He's empowered by Krishna. This is in true sense guru. But in institution, how we deal with this? So they found this sort of ways of committees and approvals and appointments, which is little artificial. But so far, this is the best we could do in ISKCON by this sort of appointments and committees and voting. Yeah, you have to be voted to be a guru. If enough people in that committee votes for you, raise their hand, you are guru. And then people come to you and bow down. And before that, nobody cared for you because you were not voted. Yeah. Yeah.
There is some guru they don't accept any disciples. Yeah.
Then how they are guru? I mean, if they don't accept the disciples, that means they're not acting as Diksha Guru.
Oh yeah.
They're
Okay.
not acting. If they're not initiating as Diksha Guru,
Yeah.
this is what is needed: permission to initiate as Diksha Guru. For that,
Okay.
permission is necessary. Otherwise, being Shiksha
Yes.
Guru, everybody can do that. If somebody, everybody can give Shiksha. But somehow the Diksha became the main thing. Although in reality, Shiksha or instructions is much more important. Diksha is just a formality. But somehow ISKCON culture became such that everybody thinks the Diksha is all in all. So if I get initiated and my Diksha Guru is my only Guru, which is basically wrong, but somehow it became a custom to give all worship, all attention, and everything to Diksha Guru, although you might not see him for years, you might not get any instructions from him. So it's a really artificial system. So hopefully one day it will be changed. That's why I was giving this Bhanu Swami's seminars where he explains the Shiksha and Diksha. I was posting a few times on Telegram. He explains Shiksha and Diksha and Guru and the relationship between them and how it came in ISKCON. The Diksha Gurus are so much overrated in comparison to other types of Guru.
Yeah. Do you have this lecture?
Yeah, I'll post it again. It's there in the Telegram group, but I can post the link again and you can listen. Banu Maharaj, he explains very nicely. He actually gave few times these seminars, especially here in ILS, ISKCON Leadership Sanghas, a few years ago. He gave it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll post it. All right, you wanna continue reading?
Me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Kesha Prasada Noma Vida Snapana Yam Jana Dikam Guru Strikpi Yuvatipihi Karayanamano Yuva. Translation: If the wife of the spiritual master is young, a young brahmachari should not allow her to care for his hair, massage his body with oil, or bathe him with affection like a mother. Purport: the relationship between the student or disciple and the wife of the spiritual master or teacher is like that between son and mother. A mother sometimes cares for his son by combing his hair, massaging his body with oil, or bathing him. Similarly, The wife of the teacher is also a mother, Guru Pani, and therefore she may also care for the disciple in a motherly way. If the wife of the teacher is a young woman, however, a young brahmachari should not allow such a mother to touch him. This is strictly prohibited. There are 7 kinds of mothers. Atma Mata Guropani, Brahmani Raja Panika, Venu Tachi Tata Privi, Sateta Matara Shmitaha. These mothers are the original mother, the wife, the teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a Brahma, the king's wife, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. Unnecessary association with women, even with one's mother, sister, or daughter, is strictly prohibited. This is human civilization, a civilization that allows men to mix unrestrictedly with women is an animal civilization. In Kali Yuga, people are extremely liberal, but mixing with women and talking with them as equals actually constitutes an civilized way of life. So this verse just mentioned the most important point. If a spiritual master's wife is very young, and then a young brahmachari should not associate with her by allowing her to combing his hair or massaging his body with oil or bathing him. Although a spiritual master's wife is like a mother, and then she can show affection towards his husband's disciple and care for her husband's disciple, just like one's mother. But here, this just it should be strictly forbidden that a brahmachari, especially the young brahmachari, should not associate with a young spiritual master's wife. And also in this world, Kali Yuga, all people are mixed together. So this is the way, not a civilized culture of human. And really human civilization culture is that women shall not mix with men, even with even if one with his mother, sister, or daughter should be strictly prohibited.
Yes, thank you. The Vishnu Thakur also, you didn't read Vishnu.
Oh, yeah. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, if the wife of the guru sees the student as a son out of affection and wants to just his hair or do other such service by her own will, it should not be allowed. So that means the wife of the guru should not do anything towards
Yeah.
the student.
If she is young, but how would you define how young she is? Below 25 or what? That's all.
Yeah.
questionable. I remember reading some news stories from America's public school where the teacher, lady teacher, was accused of having affair with a minor student, boy, maybe who was maybe 15 and she was 25, and
Oh.
she was teaching, and then at the end but it was her responsibility because the boy was a minor, and she was in the position of a teacher, so she misused that position to seduce the boy. And it was not only one example. There are many examples in a modern day school in the West of this. So yeah, such civilization should be strictly association, strictly prohibited. So if she wants to do it by her own will, it should not be allowed. And who is the one who is not allowing? But obviously, guru should, be the one who is supervising all these things. Because student can be, a young, boy who doesn't really know what to allow, what not to allow. But the guru, her husband, or whoever is managing the ashram should not allow this. Yeah, that's in his contemplatives we, had Mataji ashram and Brahmachari ashrams, but they were generally separated. They might be in the same building, but generally the Mataji's quarters, at least in the temples I was, they were in one part of the building, and another part of the building was Brahmachari quarters. And then Brahmachari would never go to the Mataji ashram, or opposite. Ladies would not come to Brahmachari ashram. Only in the temple room, But again, in the temple room, one side of the temple during the kirtan was for Matajis, another side was for Brahmacharis. So in this way, the association or mixing was minimized. But of course, during some services, like in the kitchen and on the altar cooking, some interaction had to be there. So you cannot completely, like in Islam, sometimes when here in Mayapur, I go for Japa walk and I go to this Mulapara area where there are many Muslim people live. I see small girls, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, completely covered in a black burqa, head to toe, completely in the black skirt or whatever you call it, burqa. Only the face is visible. And sometimes she goes with the mother, and mother is dressed normally in a sari, like any Indian woman. But somehow they dress these small girls in these black, completely black burqas, and they take them to, I guess, some madrasa or whatever schools they attend there. So from very early age, they're, putting strict discipline on these Muslim girls. That's Islam. Yeah, I guess we don't do that. Okay, Dhanashri Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhu, I'll try. Okay. Nan vani pramada nama grita kumba sama puman sutam apira ojayad anyada yavad artakrit. Woman is compared to fire, and man is compared to a butter pot. Therefore, a man should avoid associating even with his own daughter in a secluded place. Similarly, he should also avoid association with other women. One should associate with women only for important business and not otherwise. In a butter pot, in a butter pot and fire are kept together.
If a butter pot and fire.
If a butter pot, If a butter pot and fire are kept together, the butter within the pot will certainly melt. Women are compared to fire, and man is compared to a butter pot. However, advanced one may be in restraining the senses. It is almost impossible for a man to keep himself controlled in the presence of a woman, even if she is his own daughter, mother, or sister. Indeed, his mind is agitated even if one is in the renounced order of life. Therefore, Vedic civilization carefully restricts mingling between men and women. If one cannot understand the basic principle of restraining association between man and woman, he is to be considered an animal. That is the purport of this verse. Should I make the summary?
Yeah, but Vishwanath Thakur also.
Okay, the reason for the rule is given in this verse. Raha means alone. Anyada means in other circumstances, even if not alone. Even if not alone, one should associate with women only when necessary to fulfill certain goals, and only for that long. Okay. It is clearly explained why men should not mix with women. It is very agitating for their senses, and to prevent the worst situation, the rules are given here. Even your own daughter, you cannot stay secluded in a place. A father cannot stay secluded in a place with his own daughter. And to respect this, it's a better way to succeed for the brahmachari to succeed his spiritual life. So this is what is basically said in this verse.
Yes, thank you. So, generally one does not feel, attraction to his own daughter or mother, but still he should, not be alone with them. And it can happen even to a devotee. When I was working in a child protection team, we had some cases, child abuse cases, where devotee father actually abused his own daughter, which was, terrible. But it happened. It happened. I know at least three such cases of devotee father who couldn't restrain himself. So that's why, all precautions should be there and the rules followed strictly. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he illustrated this lesson very good in that lila with Chota Haridas, if you remember from Chaitanya Charitamrita. What did Chota Haridas do? He begged some rice for Mahaprabhu's cooking from Madhavi Devi, and she was old lady, she was old lady, and somehow after hearing that he got this rice from her, Mahaprabhu banned him from his association, which ended up with Chota Haridas committing suicide after not being allowed in the Lord's company. So in order to teach the whole world, Mahaprabhu punished his own servant for small mistake, small association was there, just for the purpose of begging rice. Still, to make a point, Mahaprabhu did it and punished Chota Haridas. So how much more we should be strict and careful. All right, let us continue. Shanti Rupa Mataji, would like to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Kalpayatvatmana yavad abhasam idamishvara dvaitam tavanna viramet tato hi asya viparyaya. Translation. As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. Purport. Here is another important warning that a man must save himself from attraction to woman. Until one is self-realized, fully independent of the illusory conception of the material body, the duality of man and woman must undoubtedly continue. But when one is actually self-realized, this distinction ceases. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, an outcast. On the spiritual platform, the learned person not only gives up the duality of man and woman, but also gives up the duality of man and animal. This is the test of self-realization. One must realize perfectly that the living being is spirit soul, but is tasting various types of material bodies. One may theoretically understand this, but when one has practical realization, then he actually becomes a Pandita, one who knows. Until that time, the duality continues and the conception of man and woman also continues. In this stage, one should be extremely careful about mixing with woman. No one should think himself perfect and forget the Shastric instruction that one should be very careful about associating even with his daughter, mother, or sister, not to speak of other women. Srila Madhvacharya cites the following shlokas in this regard. बहुत्वेनैव वस्तूनां यथार्थ ज्ञानमुच्यते अद्वैत ज्ञानमिति एतद् द्वैत ज्ञानं तदन्यथा यथा ज्ञानं तथा वस्तु तत् यथा वस्तुस्तथा मति नैव ज्ञानार्थयोर्वेदस् तत एकत्ववेदनम्. Unity in variety is real knowledge, and therefore giving up variety artificially does not reflect perfect knowledge of monism. According to the Achintya Bhedabhed philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are varieties, but all of them constitute one unit. Such knowledge is knowledge of perfect oneness. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, can the Jnani who has controlled the senses and is completely detached be harmed by association with woman? Even though one capable of knowledge, Ishvara, sees the identity with body as illusion in the manner of negating the reality of world on seeing the truth and considers everything as insignificant, abhasam, as names only, by knowledge of the truth, as long as he remains with his mind, Atmana, he cannot give up duality, thoughts of difference such as I am man and this is woman. She is attractive to me. Then he reverts to his previous state of samsara, viparyaya. Or there is another meaning. What fear does a person who has conquered his senses and has given up relationships with sons, wife, and friends have from those persons? Having given up material things, as long as he conceives to some degree abhasam by his mind, this is my wife, this is my mother, this is my son, and becomes controlled, Ishvara, by the happiness arising from such affection, to that degree he cannot give up difference, Dvaitam. Since it is such a small amount of misconception, why worry? this still creates samsara. So in this verse, it is mainly the identity of the living entity as a spirit soul or the material body, which is we have to be very careful about. And from that arises the thought of I am a woman and I am a man. And that is the duality of which will be there, which cannot be denied to some extent. But we have to go above it. Means think of it as insignificant and be serious about relationships. I think I can say.
Basically, as long as one is not self-realized completely on the spiritual platform, he has to follow these rules about restricting association of men and women. Do we have any examples from Shastra of those who transcended this duality and who could have, did things that other people could not do? Do you remember anybody? Well, one example comes to my mind is Ramananda Rai. What did he do? He massaged young devadasis, young, beautiful, dancing girls. He massaged their bodies in order, and he was teaching them how to dance, how to express emotions and feelings of the gopis, but he also massaged their bodies to prepare them. He cleansed their bodies, he bathed them. In this way, he naturally saw and touched the intimate parts of their body. But it's described that his mind was completely unchanged, like he was a touching wood. He was completely, absolutely non-agitated by this. Why? Because he was firmly established on a spiritual platform and firmly established in his swarup as the servant of the gopis, as the manjari. So he fully realized his, spiritual identity. He knew that he was, servant of the gopis. That's why when he was touching other women, material bodies of other women, he didn't feel any agitation. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorified his example, but he warned that the prerogative for such things is only Ramananda Roy. He can only do this. Nobody else can do this. If anybody else tries to do this, he'll be destroyed. So this is one example of such personality. And another personality, is the Bhagavatam speaker, Shukadev Goswami. He was completely Paramhansa from the very birth. So that's why he was just walking around naked. And when he was passing the forest, some young girls, when they saw him, they didn't even bother to cover themselves because he knew that he doesn't see, material body. He doesn't see any difference between men and women. They could, immediately recognize that this person is not from this world. So they didn't bother to cover themselves, although they were naked. But when Vyasadeva passed, they immediately, became very shy and covered because Vyasadeva, he was Grihastha. Although he was also Paramhansa, still because he was playing part of a Grihastha in Varnashrama society, they covered themselves. But for Shukadev, they didn't bother to cover themselves. So these two examples come to my mind. All right, I think it's my turn now to read. Etat sarvam grihastasya samam natham yaterapi guru vritir vikalpena grihastasyan syartugamina. All the rules and regulations apply equally to the householder and the sannyasi, the member of the renounced order of life. The grihasta, however, is given permission by the spiritual master to indulge in sex during the period favorable for procreation. It is sometimes misunderstood that the grihasta householder is permitted to indulge in sex at any time. This is a wrong conception of grihasta life. A spiritual life, whether one is a grihasta, vanaprastha, sannyasi, or brahmachari, everyone is under the control of the spiritual master. For brahmacharis and sannyasis, there are strong restrictions on sexual indulgence. Similarly, there are strong restrictions for grihastas. Grihastas should indulge in sex life only in accordance with the order of the guru. That means only if guru ordered you, you can do it. Therefore, it is mentioned here that one must follow the orders of the spiritual master. Guru Vritti Vikalpana. When the spiritual master orders, the grihasta may accept sex life. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamo asmi. Indulgence in sex life without disobedience to the religious rules and regulations constitutes a religious principle. The grihasta is allowed to indulge in sex life during the period favorable for procreation and in accordance with the spiritual master's order. If the spiritual master's orders allow a grihasta to engage in sex life at a particular time, then the grihasta may do so. Otherwise, if the spiritual master orders against it, the grihasta should abstain. The grihasta must obtain permission from the spiritual master to observe the ritualistic ceremony of Garbhodhana Samskara. Then he may approach his wife to beget children, otherwise not. A Brahmana generally remains a brahmachari throughout his entire life, but although some Brahmanas become grihastas and indulge in sex life, they do so under the complete control of the spiritual master. The kshatriya is allowed to marry more than one wife, but this also must be in accordance with the instructions of the spiritual master. It is not that because one is a grihasta, he may marry as many times as he likes and indulge in sex life as he likes. This is not spiritual life. In spiritual life, one must conduct one's whole life under the guidance of the guru. Only one who executes his spiritual life under the direction of the spiritual master can achieve the mercy of Krishna. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado. If one desires to advance in spiritual life, but he acts whimsically, not following the orders of the spiritual master, he has no shelter. Yasya prasada nagati kutopi. Without the spiritual master's order, even the grihasta should not indulge in sex life. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says the rules from verse 6 apply to others as well. The person decides if he should or should not have children. Vikalpana. So basically the rules of restrictive association with women in the previous verse, they also apply to grihastas. That means these grihastas who follow these rules, they're called grihasta brahmacharis. But they have certain concession. This is concession. If they're ordered or they're given permission by guru, they can take part in sex life for procreation only. Well, in a practical reality, I don't know how many people are asking permission from their guru to engage in sex life or to do Garbhodhana Samskara. Yeah, I doubt that many are doing this. I had one friend who would, before doing Garbhadana Sanskara, go around and ask certain devotees for blessings, which was kind of nice. But nowadays, if you go and you ask your Diksha Guru, who is a sannyasi, it also doesn't really make much sense, because it's not sannyasi's business to regulate your indulgence in sex life. So nobody is actually asking the Guru. So this, you have to understand, when this was written, it was in Vedic times, when everybody had a Kula Guru, family guru, and he was living just maybe close by, next to your family, and he would basically be part of a family. So it was very easy. You just knock next door and tell your Kula Guru, or Gurudev, I'm planning to do Garbhadana Sanskara, please give your blessings. And then he would say Ashirvad, Ashirvad, and then person goes and does it. But nowadays in ISKCON, when we have sannyasi gurus who have tens of thousands of disciples, who you don't see for years, it just doesn't really make much sense. And I don't think that even Prabhupada's disciples, they were asking Prabhupada when to engage in sex life. Certainly Prabhupada didn't deal with these things. But this is the ideal from the Vedic Varnashrama, when everything was regulated, even family affairs like this one were regulated by Kula Guru, by family guru. Yeah, this is what comes to my mind. The whole point that it even for grihastas, sex life and association with the women is strictly regulated and restricted only certain times, under certain conditions, for certain purpose. So it should not happen whimsically anytime, just for satisfaction of the lustful desires. Otherwise, it's breaking of regulative principle. It's sinful. It's vikarma, and one will get certain reactions. Of course, engaging in illicit sex lives within marriage, that sex life that is not for procreation, it's just for enjoyment, is still much less sinful than engaging outside of the marriage in illicit sex life. So in one sense, it's much more mild and not that serious, but still it's obstacle to one's personal spiritual advancement, although it's not causing social disturbance. But illicit sex life outside of the marriage is very destructive on both personal level, individual level, and on the social level, because it's involving others that are not part of your family, and it's causing degradation of the whole society. And that's why we have a modern society is completely degraded, because everybody is engaging in these sort of activities. I read a long time ago that in Japan, both husband and wife, they engage in extramarital affairs with the knowledge of their husband and wife. They have affairs outside, and they think it's normal. It's kind of part of a culture. You just don't speak about it. But your husband knows that the wife is sleeping with other men, and the wife also knows that husband has a lovers. So this is animal society, although it's very kind of Polish society, and they're very polite about it. But it's animal society. All right, we have a little more. So who was reading first? It was Chatura Mataji.
Yeah.
Please read again.
Okay. 12, text 12.
Well, yes.
Anjana Vyanjano Matta Striyavar Lekan Mixan Madu Swagantha Lepalam Karas Tyajayo Ye Viha Vittaha Vittaha. Translation: Brahmacharis or grihastas who have taken the vow of celibacy, as described above, should not indulge in the following: applying powder or ointment to the eyes, massaging the head with oil, massaging the body with the hands, seeing a woman or painting a woman's picture, eating meat, drinking wine, decorating the body with flower garlands, smearing scented ointment on the body, or decorating the body with ornaments. This they should give up. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, applying oil on the body or a Vyayajna is applying oil on associating with women and sorry. Anjana is applying oil on the body, and Bhayanjana is applying oil on the head. Associating with women and painting are separate items. These items are by their nature forbidden, even in emergencies. This should not be done. This is the difference with the injunction in verse 8.
Yeah,
No purpose.
no, you will read one more. Just let me hear. Applying powder or ointment to the eyes. You know any man, Brahmacharis, grihastas, that are applying powder or ointment to the eyes? I never heard of any. Well, maybe in America nowadays, the transgender men, they might trying to look like a woman, they might be doing this. Otherwise, generally, who is doing this? Well, massaging the head or body with the oil. Well, this is something called abhyanga, the self massage for health purposes. I don't see any problem with that. It's actually recommended in Ayurveda. And Prabhupada, he was massaged with oil by his servants every day. It was his regular health routine. But what is meant here? It's something that would provoke lust or yeah, with this if it's done with this motivation, with this purpose, decorating yourself to look beautiful and massaging the head with amalaki oil, the hair with the oil in order to look attractive to ladies and to attract them. This is the intent here. Seeing a woman, I don't know how really we can avoid seeing a woman here would mean seeing them with the lusty intentions, with intentions to enjoy. Otherwise, you cannot avoid seeing women. So obviously, you have to interpret it in this way. Or painting a women's picture. Yeah, because then you meditate on women's form. If it's young women, then one gets, attracted. But of course, nowadays, there are many artists who are painting and then making photos also with the cameras. Eating meat again is agitating for the genitals. Drinking wine is all agitating. Decorating body with with the flower gardens or smearing something on the body. This is all activities that are done with the purpose of attracting opposite sex. So that's why both grihastas and brahmacharis should avoid it. Okay, you can read the next one with the purport. Are you there or she dropped? Oh, she dropped. Okay, I'll read until, or maybe, yeah, Dhanashri Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhu. I'm sorry for the microphone. It was difficult to put it on.
Oh, Chaitanya Mataji is back actually. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. You can read one more then.
Okay. Ushivevan Gurukule Drajo Di Yavaputya Chayin Sangopani Satam Yava Datan Yata Palam Tatwavaran Anu Nata Guru Kaman Yadisvaraha Grihan Vanan Va Pravisate Prarajay Tachava Vasate. Translation: according to the rules and regulations mentioned above, one who is thrice born, namely a Brahmana, Sachiya, or Vaishya, should reside in the Gurukula under the care of the spiritual master. There he should study and learn all the Vedic literatures along with their supplements and the Upanishads according to his ability and power to study. If possible, the student or disciple should reward the spiritual master with the remuneration the spiritual master requests, and then, following the master's order, the disciple should leave and accept one of the other ashramas, namely the Grihastha ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama, or Sannyasa ashrama, as he desires. Purport: to study the Vedas and understand them, of course, requires some special intelligence, but the members of the three higher sections of society, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, must learn the Vedic literatures according to their capability and power to understand. In other words, studying the Vedic literatures is compulsory for everyone but the Shudras and Antyajas. The Vedic literature gives the knowledge that can lead one to understand the absolute truth, Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Gurukula, or the reformatory educational institution, should be used only to understand Vedic knowledge. At the present time, there are many educational institutions for training and technology, but such knowledge has nothing to do with understand the absolute truth. Technology, therefore, is meant for the Shudras, whereas the Vedas are meant for the Dvajas. Consequently, this verse states, Dujodhiyavabhutya cha Chayin Sango Pernik Sadam. At the present time, in the age of Kali, practically everyone is a Shudra and no one is a Dvija. Therefore, the condition of society has very much deteriorated. Another point to be observed from this verse is that from the brahmachari asrama, one may accept the sannyasa asrama, vanaprastha asrama, or grihastha asrama. It is not compulsory for a brahmachari to become a grihastha because the ultimate aim is to understand the absolute truth. There is no necessity of going through all the different ashramas. Thus, one may proceed to the sannyasa asrama directly from the brahmachari asrama. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur accepted the sannyasa asrama directly from the brahmachari asrama. In other words, His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not think it compulsory to accept the Grihastha asrama or Vanaprastha asrama. In this verse, it is very important to understand that the higher section of the society, namely a Brahmana, Sachiya, a Vaishya, should study Vedic literature under the guidance of the spiritual master. But in Kali Yuga, there is no such kind of Gurukula, and everyone is born as Shudra. So Shudra only study technology. They don't study Vedic literature, and so much so that the whole society is deteriorated. And another point is that when one accepts one of the ashramas, especially the brahmachari, they should not go through all the ashramas. Sometimes they can accept the sannyasas ashramas directly from brahmachari. And if one do not accept sannyasa asrama, this brahmachari can enter into grihastha's life. Okay.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's the point. Well, we have many brahmacharis who still lifelong brahmacharis, and they do not accept anything. They don't even accept sannyas. They don't accept vanaprastha or grihastha. They just stay as they are. But generally, brahmachari was a young student until he finishes his education. Then either he accepts sannyas or he becomes grihastha. But in ISKCON we have many brahmacharis, and only few they get sannyas, because it's a difficult process, and only superstar brahmacharis are lucky to get sannyas. Otherwise, just a normal brahmachari, they stay as brahmacharis, and somehow in the West there is less and less brahmacharis. Only in India I see still a lot of brahmacharis in ISKCON temples. In the West, it's kind of a rare thing, and when you see a Western brahmachari, wow, that's something. There's some Russian Western brahmacharis. In America, only a few here and there. And of course, in India, we have a lot. Mayapur has a couple of hundred. Then we have, Juhu, Chaupati, Delhi, a lot of brahmacharis are there. And some of them, maybe just a few get sannyas. Okay, I think we basically came to the end of this session. We want to keep it 1.5 hours. Otherwise, it's becoming too exhausting for everybody. If nobody has anything else, we can stop and continue.
Yep.
Yes, Mataji.
You have one question. And so as long as I know, when I studied this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, my understanding is that Srila Prabhupada said a spiritual master should be a self-realized person. And so nowadays, is there any self-realized persons become the gurus or
Yeah, it's a difficult question. Ideally, it should be, but if self-realized person is not available, what can you do? You have then sadhakas, those who are still making progress. They assume the role of initiating Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru. Whether they're self-realized or not, you have to judge yourself. And again, it's you cannot generalize. It's individual. You would need to go from person to person. But generally, the general trend is that most of the gurus we have, they're still sadhakas. I mean, they're on the way to become perfect, like we are. They might be more advanced than us. And on the same time, they accepted this role, or they were appointed uh, in this role of Diksha Guru, and they're trying to do their service. So it's like that. It's ideally, you want self-realized Paramahamsas, but they're very rare, very difficult to find. So in the yeah.
Do you mean that the self-realized person is a Paramahansa, or they still have some? They are not a Paramahansa, but they are self-realized person.
I mean, I don't make any difference, self-realized or Paramahamsa. This is
Oh,
the same meaning. Self-realized means he realized, his Svarup, his eternal position. Basically, somebody on the level of Krishna Prema. This is self-realized for devotee. For Jnanis, self-realized would be somebody on Brahma Bhuta platform, but for devotees, self-realized is who achieve the level of Krishna Prema. So how many Prema Bhaktas you have, you figure out yourself. Sometimes they're also not, it's not so obvious, but sometimes it's obvious. In any case, society has to function somehow, and somebody needs to perform this function of initiating others, instructing others. So that's why society is appointing different persons, most of them as sadhakas, means not self-realized yet. Hopefully one day they'll be self-realized and we will become also self-realized.
yeah.
And then once you're self-realized, you are guru in your own right. You don't need to be appointed, whether you're appointed or not. If you know Krishna Tattva, then you are a guru. This is Mahaprabhu's definition of a guru. Say Guru Tattva Veda. Yay Guru Tattva Veda, say Krishna, say Guru Hoy. He's the guru who knows the science of Krishna, who knows Krishna Tattva. He is the guru. To know Krishna Tattva means to know know Krishna, to realize Krishna and realize his own position as Krishna's eternal servant.
Prabhu, then
Yeah.
how do you identify who is self-realized?
I don't. Why would I need to try to identify who's self-realized? It's their own thing. I better, take care that I become self-realized. What others are, it's their problem. Everybody should take care that he becomes self-realized. Otherwise, trying to figure out who's self-realized, who is not, it's a waste of time. But it requires some maturity also, that you can see the level of advancement of others. There is no formula. It requires some maturity. You need to also have some maturity and some level of advancement in order to be able to see where others are and at which level others are. Otherwise, neophyte
Yeah.
devotee, it's very difficult for him also to judge who is where, on which level who is. So that's why the best policy is to try to become advanced and self-realize yourself. Then you will know everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all. Good night and see you
And thank you.
next Wednesday. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Dandavat
Thank you.
pranam.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhu.
you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Dhanavapanam.